Would you use your same maintenance agreement for this client and recommend a large amount of hours to properly support them? Or would you use a MSP model of per workstation, per server, per model for this client size? How would you approach this one? How would you approach this one if you were the client? And like the rest, I guess he just goes into.
Yeah.
Okay, so Matt, what's your answer for Dante?
Well, the first thing that I noticed is that he said he's only even had one meeting with them.
Yes, he did.
Okay. So the first thing with any new client is you can discuss hourly rates and you can discuss service agreements and maintenance contracts, but I don't implement any of those things until the network is up and running smoothly. Um, so in one of the early meetings, I'm gonna ask them, what issues are you having? What what's not working the way you want it to work? What are some of the things you want to implement that you can't do now? Those kind of things. Once all that's out the way, I'll tell them, okay, now if you want a service agreement, we can work together with that. Because to try and get a client in shape on a service agreement, that's not. I don't like doing that. I'd rather just bill hourly rate for all the initial work until it's at a point where you can do day-to-day maintenance, especially on a certain network with 70 computers.
I agree.
They're almost on the edge of having somebody on staff for that. Um, but there are models of service agreements that are popular where you give them so much. Let's just throw a number out: $50 a workstation, um, maybe $500 a server, maybe $10 per device like printer, um, and you can bundle those all together to get a final price of what their monthly support will be. And the way we do it is that is for maintenance, day-to-day operations and maintenance. It's not for projects, it's not for new installations, none of that stuff. Day-to-day maintenance. For any of the new projects, they're billed separately, and they are billed at the reduced rate. We'll come up with a reduced hourly rate since they have a service agreement. And it might be 20% cheaper than our normal rate. Um, if we have a few clients, more than a few, that are this size. And I told him this. I think the strangest thing is the larger the company, the less likely they are to have a service agreement.
Why is that?
Because when you tell them $50 a month per computer, $500 per month for per service, you get up to $7,000 a month easy, and that's a hard check for them to write.
Yeah.
Because before they've just break fix stuff they call when they need you. So that's dependent on their commitment to their network. I mean, something's happened because they're bringing you in. So either they haven't had IT staff before, or they've had bad support, or they're for whatever reason they're changing how they handle
Right.
IT support.
There's a reason why you were there.
Yeah, and so they may have been spending nothing. They may have been doing it themselves. So I find when the bigger they are, the more likely they don't want to do that. But you can offer that to them. You can also offer them the standard bulk hours thing. We're gonna you'll pay for 16 hours a month at this reduced rate, and if you go over, you pay this rate, um, and we can adjust as needed. So
But
it's a hard thing to sell with that many workstations because it's almost they see $7,000. You could let them know, yes, that's $7,000 a month. That's $84,000 a year, but you don't have an employee with all the associated taxes and everything that goes with an employee. If the employee's sick, if the employee's on vacation, we have a staff of six that are covering you for this price. You can't hire six people for that price. So there are ways you can try and spin it for them, but I find it's harder. None of the clients that I have that big have service agreements. They don't want them.
hmm, quite interesting uh, by that statement because you would think that they would. But and again, Matt, I mentioned one of the early shows of Podnutz Pro. You know, when you do your walkthrough, to make sure you identify any issue because you want to know what you're about to walk into. You don't want to prepare a quote. I'm thinking everything is running like a smooth oiled machine, and then you walk in there and find out that everything's gone to straight hell.
Yeah.
So
And I don't want to try and support. I don't want to give somebody that have no idea what they're doing any kind of response time, because I have no idea what nightmares await if I tell them, yeah, 4 hour on site, and they're calling me every day saying we're down. That's not going to happen.
yep.
And he had a follow-up email. It was a little shorter, but
Yep. Matt, let me give you a call back real quick because the audio is sounding kind of weird. So give me one
Okay.
second, boss. In fact, hey, Matt.
Yep.
Okay, now you're a lot better on cue. Awesome.
Oh, great. Awesome.
All right, and then he did have a follow-up email, and I'll find it right now for you. And it says, question, would you consider the $50 per workstation agreement plan an all-inclusive package, or would you charge them separately for on-site remote visits at a discounted price? The plan will cover monitoring and maintenance.
When we've done this, we don't charge more for on-site. We tell them what can be done remotely will be done remotely.
Okay.
If it can't be done remotely, then we'll come on site, and that's included in that rate. Of course, there's so many ways to price it. You could have just an extra fee for an on-site, but with somebody this big, I probably wouldn't put a charge because they're already paying so much.
Yeah.
And most of it can be done remotely. The ones that I have like this, we're not out there much. It's all remote, so most of it anyway. I might go out there once every couple of weeks for something because I either got to pick up a computer or I got to clean a virus that I can't connect remotely to or whatever. But it's not that often.
Okay.
So I don't think it's worth throwing another fee on top of there that they're going to say, well, you're going to charge me to come on site. I'm already paying you $7,000 a month.
Yeah.
Yes, but I want that extra $25.
Yeah.
So,
Please, it's only $25. Okay.
but that's if it was less, if it was maybe a 10 computer network, I might give them a reduced price that covers remote. It's all dependent. But 70, I wouldn't tack on an extra charge.
All right, then. Sweet. Next email is from Tim. Hi, Matt and Lalo. Would like to mention to Matt, unless I misunderstood, the freeware version of Revo Uninstaller will run fine on HP, Vista, and Windows 7, provided at 32-bit. If the OS is 64-bit, the Pro version is required.
Yes, nice. I didn't know that.
Yeah, in fact, when we go to their main page, you can actually see a compare feature from the freeware and the professional, and of course, the professional is so much more. But on the very bottom, it does say full 64-bit compatibility with the operating systems he mentioned, only for the paid version.
Yes, and if you need it, if you need to pay for it because it's a good program.
Yeah. Now, I've often been asked before. I don't tend to use uninstallers because I understand what they're used for any programs that kind of don't uninstall cleanly. Can you describe in a situation where you would use this?
Well, normally if I'm just trying to uninstall it through the uninstaller program or add remove programs, and it gives an error, it doesn't uninstall.
Cool. And that's the answer I hear from a lot of people. I guess I just don't come across that issue enough to have a program for it. But I've heard a lot about this program. Many people do use the application, and it's the most popular one that I hear of.
Yeah, like today I was trying to uninstall Peachtree, and it gave an error trying to uninstall. The program's still there. You can just click on it. It gives an error when you click on it saying valid only for installed program, or some error that would make you think it's not installed.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go to hit remove from add remove programs, it says not installed or something. So it was there. Remnants were around somewhere, and this kind of thing would clean that up.
All right, then the next email is from Doug. Doug says, Lalo, Matt, have you seen this tool? It's called Cord. I was just listening to a remote podcast and noticed Matt had issues using RDP from his MacBook to manage his Windows servers. I've been using Cord for a few years and it's been working pretty well for me. Matt, you stated you actually downloaded this?
I did. As soon as I got the email, I installed it, and I like the way it has the window. So on the main window, you've got your server that you're connected to, and on the side, you've got a list of all the servers connected to it. So you can click on one, and it switches over instantly. So I do like it. Now the problem is, it not really a problem if you're going to use this instead of remote desktop for the Mac. It took over all the RDP like, files that I have. So if I have a saved file from RDP and I click on it, it tells me I can't open it.
Oh, so it actually took over the association for every
Yeah,
RDP file.
yeah. So, and it won't recognize it. So if I have an IP address, or it won't recognize any of them. It wouldn't be a problem if it opened in the program, but the program doesn't understand it for some reason. So I have to recreate them in the Cord software, which I've done because I like it. And then for the RDP, I change the association back to the default.
Okay.
But I do like it. I like the way you can easily switch back and forth between the servers you're connected to.
Great. And we have a question from Computer Pro in the chat room. He says, Doctor Office has 3 docks on Wi-Fi, only showing 270 megabits on the NIC. Is this the actual speed? Faster than a? Is this actual question mark? Faster on a 100 meg wire? We're going to switch them to gigabit Ethernet in the future, but I wonder if they're actually running faster than a regular 100 meg wire.
Yeah. Um, I don't think it's faster. I think that's theoretical. I don't think you're getting anywhere near that throughput. But to convince them, I have a little tool that can show. I forgot. I'm gonna try to find it.
Yes, and if you can find that tool, that'd be great because I used to have a tool. It was a client and a server, and it was a self-executable, but you would load the server client. They called it a server client, and you would load the client, and you would transfer a file, and it showed you what the
Yeah,
throughput was.
right.
But I forgot what it was called though.
Yeah, and I used to have that too. Um, Now, of course, you could just pick any big file, copy it to the server, and then with wireless and copy it back to a wired. But I did have it. If I can find it, we'll talk about it in the next show.
Okay.
I don't. I think that's theoretical. I don't think you're getting anywhere near that. But again, it's always nice when you go to gigabit.
Oh, always nice. I agree.
Yeah, that's. I wish I could find it because I ran it for someone who insisted